Harry uploads a dating app, hoping to find a girlfriend. He likes these 3 ladies, but 2 of them are not single. Can you guess who? The second lady has 2 shampoos on a bathroom shelf. One for her curly hair and one shampoo for male hair and beards. So she's probably living with her husband, and the third lady is wearing a necklace in the shape of half a heart. The second half probably belongs to her boyfriend. So only the first lady is single. Early in the morning, Harry goes to the local park for a workout. He sees these 3 runners on the way. Can you decide who's faster? The second one. What about these cyclists? Who's the fastest? The third one. After the workout, Harry enters his favorite cafe and sees a lot of people. All the tables are occupied, but one person already finished eating. Can you guess who? This guy. There's money on his table. Harry looks around the cafe and sees a crying woman. Can you guess why she's so upset? She's crying because her friend is pulling her hair. Harry is flying business class to another city. There are 4 women in the cabin. One of them is smuggling gold. Can you guess who? The fourth one. Her belly is unnaturally square. So he goes to the park and gets attacked by a crowd of zombies. Harry is terrified. He begins to run away. There are 3 possible routes in front of him, but only one of these routes will actually take him to a shelter. Can you help Harry find the correct way? Route A doesn't look simple, but it's the only way out. Harry is visiting an engagement party. His brother Kevin proposes to his girlfriend Bella with a fancy diamond ring. And she says yes. The party goes well, but suddenly, the lights turn off for 20 seconds. When the power is back again, Bella sees that someone has sneaked an engagement ring from her finger. Harry questions 3 suspects. Peter says,
I was cutting a cake in the kitchen when the lights turned off.
Allie says, I was playing the piano in the living room when suddenly it became super dark. But I'm a pro, so I continued to play blindly. And Kitty says, Sorry, I've been arguing on the phone with my ex-boyfriend, so I didn't look around. Who's lying? Allie. She said she was playing the piano, but there are no musical instruments in the living room. At the party, Harry meets a pretty lady named Monica. He falls in love with her at first sight, but unfortunately, she's already married. Can you guess which one of these guys is her spouse? It's the first guy. He's the only one who doesn't hold any drink, and Monica is holding 2 glasses, one for herself and one for her husband. The party goes on, and Harry meets Vlad. He's a real vampire. One of these ladies is his wife. Can you guess who? The first lady's not a vampire. She bit this cookie and smeared her red lipstick. And the second one is wearing a garlic necklace, probably to chase away evil powers. Meanwhile, the third lady has sharp ears and red eyes, so she's probably a vampire just like Vlad. But the task was to spot Vlad's wife. Nobody said that she's necessarily a vampire. Take a look at the First Lady's ring finger. She has a ruby ring that's similar to Vlad's. Therefore, she's his spouse. Harry runs a hardware store chain. He arrives at one of the shops to investigate a theft. The manager says,
This morning I found out that some Xboxes are missing. They could be stolen yesterday. Only 2 guys worked last night. One of them must be the thief. Personally, I think it was Bob.
Harry asks, why do you think so?
I talked to both of them. Bob said that he saw nothing suspicious, and Zach said that he'd seen Bob put some boxes in the back seat of his car.
Harry asks the manager to take him to Bob. They approach Bob at the parking lot. Harry says, now I'm pretty sure that Zach is guilty. Why did Harry think so? Zach said Bob put some boxes in the back seat of his car. However, Bob has a 2-seat car. Harry calls the police and they arrest Zach. The manager decides to change the 7-number password on the storage door to avoid further thefts. He leaves this little clue for all his colleagues. Can you crack this code? The number of fingers implies 5. The number of angles in the triangle implies 3. The number of petals in the flower is 6. The circle implies 0. The rainbow has 7 colors. It symbolizes the number 7. And finally, the square has 4 angles, so the passcode is 536074. Harry figures out the code and changes it again to test Bob's intelligence. Harry gives him the following clue. It's a 7-digit code. The first digit is the number of zeros in the code. The second digit is the number of ones in it. The third digit is the number of 2s. The fourth digit is the number of 3s. The fifth digit is the number of 4s. The sixth digit reveals the number of 5s. And finally, the 7th digit shows the number of 6s. Can you figure out the code? The correct answer is 3211000. Harry goes on a road trip. He stops in the middle of a desert to take pictures. Can you spot 3 odd things? Harry's shadow falls to the right, and the shadows from the cacti fall to the left. He's in the desert, but this cactus is growing in a pot, and this lizard is wearing tiny shoes. Harry rents a room in a motel for a couple of days. Unfortunately, he has a very annoying neighbor, Karen. They're arguing all the time. One day, Karen calls the local security and accuses Harry of stealing her towel. It's been raining all day long, so I didn't go to the beach and stayed in my room. Harry grabbed my beach towel from this rope. I could see from my window. He folded it and put it into his backpack. The guard immediately realizes that Karen is lying. How? The rope is outdoors. It doesn't make any sense to dry towels in the rain. Harry purchases a tour to see the local waterfalls. He takes a nap on the bus. Then he wakes up and sees that his favorite baseball cap is missing. Harry interrogates 3 tourists nearby. Sally says, "Sorry, I was sleeping too. I don't know who did it." Oliver says, "Look at me, I don't wear baseball caps, man. I prefer classy hats." And Molly says, "I think it was Sally. She's very suspicious. I'm almost sure that she tried to steal my chocolates when I fell asleep." Can you spot the thief? It was Oliver. He hid Harry's cap under his classy hat. Harry enters the local bakery. Rosie, the barista, is very upset. I have so many coffee orders, but someone stole all the beans from the storage room. Harry interrogates 3 suspects. Louis, the cook, says,
I spent the whole day in the kitchen baking croissants, and I'm just working on a new batch. I don't have time to talk to you.
Ron, the waiter, says, I forgot to set my alarm, so I overslept and arrived just now. I don't know who sneaked the beans. And finally, Dan, the manager, says,
I've been talking to one dissatisfied customer all morning. She was so annoying. I didn't have the chance to look around.
Who's lying? The cook. There are no croissants either in the kitchen or in the bakery window. A famous British actress, Amelia Wright, was spending her vacation in a hotel in Miami. One day, the police got a call from one of Amelia's friends, who reported her disappearance. We agreed to have dinner together a couple of days ago, and I still can't reach her, the woman said. The police got access to Amelia's hotel room, where they found this note. It's been an honor to be able to live my dream of being an actress, but it has been the center of my attention for too long, and I want to start over. Don't look for me. Love, Amelia. The police didn't believe that the note was written by Amelia. Why? The words like honor and center are written in an American way. Amelia is British, and they spell it like this. Honor, H-O-N-O-U-R, and center, C-E-N-T-R-E. Mr. Jordan, said Detective Callum over the phone, I'm sorry to tell you that your brother-in-law was poisoned and is now in the hospital. We are working on the case right now.
Oh no, Daniel Jordan replied. I just saw Brian last week. I'm sorry to hear that. But he is a successful businessman. He must have many enemies. That's a shame. He is a good man. I and both of my sister's husbands have always looked up to him. Please keep me updated and let me know how I can help.
You can come to the police station so that we can ask you a couple of questions, replied Detective Callum. Why did he think that Daniel had something to do with the poisoning? The detective never specified which brother-in-law was poisoned, and yet Daniel knew immediately, even though he had 3 of them. A rich woman was robbed right in the hotel she was staying in. A person pulled a purse out of her hands in the lobby and ran out of the building. The police arrived for interrogation, and one person stepped in as a witness.
I was inside when the entrance door opened and slammed me in the face. The person had a red handbag and ran in the direction of the park. They were wearing a black hood and white sneakers. That's all I could notice.
The witness was taken to the police station for further investigation. Why? As you see, the hotel's entrance door is a pull door, so the door couldn't have possibly slammed that witness in the face. So, they're lying. Maybe it's the thief's partner trying to feed the police false information. Now, to crack this short riddle, you need to think outside the box. A train had arrived at the main station, but none of the passengers moved and none walked in. Then, the train departed. How is it possible? It's a model train set. Take a look at this couple on a boat trip. Why did the man push his girlfriend? He didn't push her. Quite the opposite. He was trying to save her. The woman had dropped her sunglasses into the water and was leaning over the side of the boat to retrieve them. She lost her balance and fell into the water. The man quickly reacted, grabbed her, and pulled her back into the boat. Now it's time for our favorite, Who Is Riddles that will test your attention. Are you ready? Look at these 2 people. Which of them isn't smart? It's this guy right here. The sign says that no pets are allowed, but he's come with a cat. Okay, here's another situation. 2 people are on vacation. Jane is exploring the Alps, and David is about to jump from a cliff in Italy. Which of them isn't smart? It's David. Look, there's rocks right below the cliff he's going to jump from. It's way too dangerous. Jake and George are best friends who went camping in the woods. In the afternoon, they came across a wolf and ran in different directions. Which of the guys is in greater danger? It's Jake. Look, he's eating a sausage. The sausage will probably attract the wolf, and it will run after Jake to get it. The guy should throw it away, and keep in mind that if you ever encounter a wolf, don't run. Stand tall, maintain eye contact, and slowly back away. Now, look at these two pretty ladies. Can you figure out which of them has a partner? It's this one. Look, she has a ring on her finger, so you can say it's a safe bet. Neil was in love with his colleague, Jessica. He told her about his feelings, but she said she wasn't interested. Neil invited her to dinner anyway, asking for one chance, and Jessica agreed. Neil wasn't going to take any chances, so he decided to use a love potion on her. It had an effect on a person who wasn't in love and had the opposite effect on someone who was already in love. In simple words, if Neil drank it too, he'd fall out of love. So, it was the day of the dinner. Neil and Jessica ate the same food, and in the end, they shared a piece of cake, which Neil cut in half. Jessica left, saying it was a lovely dinner, but that she still wasn't interested. But the next day, the girl called Neil, asking for another date. How did Neil manage to give Jessica a love potion without drinking it himself if they ate all the same food? The love potion was on one side of the knife that was used to cut the cake, so Jessica's piece had the potion on it, and Neil's didn't. Now, I have a couple of quick questions to ask you, and all of them are easier than they seem. Do you think you can solve them all? Let's see, and remember, don't overthink. How many hamsters can you put in an empty box? Just one. After that, it won't be an empty box anymore. What's bigger once you turn it around? The number 6, which will turn into 9. We all know that 2 and 2 equal 4, but how can we make it 18 more? Just by putting 2 and 2 next to each other so that they become 22. If you multiply all numbers on your phone's keyboard, what will be the result? The result will be 0. In any case, you will multiply all these numbers by 0. Okay, now let's relax a bit and train your eyes. I'll show you some photos, and your task is to find hidden words in them, 1 word per photo. Do you think you can find it? Well, let's see. Here's the first photo. Did you find the word cloud hidden right here? Great job. Here's something a little bit harder. Concentrate. This time, the word history was written right here. Okay, here's the next one for you. The word music is here. Did you see it? Let's do a few more. Are you up for it? Then here's the new one for you. So, the word science was right here. And finally, here's the last, hardest one. Concentrate and try to find that word as fast as possible. Can you? Yes, the word movie is right here. Awesome job. Now, one last detective riddle for you. One evening, Detective Callum was out on a walk around his neighborhood. He spotted an unfamiliar gentleman he had never seen before. This was unusual since the detective knew every person living in the area. "Hello, I don't think I've had the chance to meet you before," he said.
Yes, I believe so. I just moved in here last week, and I'm leaving now to meet my friends.
The detective didn't believe the man and took him to the police station. Why? Look, there are fresh footprints on the snow that obviously belong to the man, and they lead out of the window. House owners usually use the front door to walk out of the house, so this one must be a burglar.
I know a great way to energize your brain. A new portion of Tricky Riddles. Are you up for some detective activity? Then let's start. Brandon missed lots of lectures, and as a result, the guy had problems with his professor. The man agreed to give the student a second chance, but only if he fulfilled the task the professor had for him. I'll give you 1 glass of milk and 1 glass of water. You'll need to pour the 2 liquids into a bowl, but you should be able to separate the milk from the water later. And you can't use any kind of dividers. Brandon spent several hours mulling over the problem and cracked this riddle. What did he do? He poured all the water into the bowl and froze it. After that, he added the milk. You lose your friends in a crowd. You spend half an hour looking for them. And finally, here they are. What is the first thing you do as soon as you see them? You stop searching. Can you figure out what this rebus puzzle means? Give, 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 give. It stands for forgive. There are 2 towns near each other. People who always tell the truth live in one of them. Liars live in the other. The inhabitants of the town often visit each other. What question should you ask a passerby to find out which town you're in? Ask them, "Are you a guest here?" If they answer yes, you're in the town of liars. If they say no, you're in the town where honest people live. Look at these ladies. One of them has stolen a watermelon. Can you figure out which one it is? It's the girl on the right. Her navel isn't visible, even though she's wearing a rather tight dress. Her belly must be fake. Oh no, Mary is crying. But why? Do you know the reason? First of all, Mary is the girl on the left. Do you see that school bag with her name on it? And she's crying because the guy sitting next to her is pulling her hair. Next, can you figure out which car is a transformer? Right you are. It's this one. This granny claims the nurse steals her pills, but the nurse says it's a ridiculous accusation. Who's lying? Duh! Look at the nurse's head. It's not a hat, it's a container with the pills. Now, you need to figure out which blogger is a vampire. Be very attentive to details. Even though the girl wearing all black looks sinister, The vampire is the girl on the right. Look, the lamp is turned on. But unlike the girl on the left, the vampire has no shadow. Olivia's husband was a hunter. Once he went on a hunting trip for 3 days, but when he came back home, he brought nothing. The next day, Olivia went to a cafe with several friends. They shared their latest news. Donna said, "I just bought a new apartment." Sarah boasted, "My boyfriend gave me this bracelet for my birthday." Nina said, "And I went skiing to the Alps. It was a fantastic trip, except for those awful mosquitoes." Olivia left the cafe in tears. She was now sure her husband was cheating on her with one of her friends. Can you figure out which one? It's Nina. For one thing, getting bitten by mosquitoes in the Alps while skiing? Really? Plus, the bites on her face and body match those Olivia's husband has. They must have been together. Someone stole a rare diamond from Mr. Lauren's house. The police suspected Jack, a notorious burglar. A detective immediately went to his house. But when Jack found out the man didn't have a search warrant, he didn't let him in. In an hour, the police arrived again, this time with a warrant. They searched the entire house but found nothing. They were ready to leave when one of the police officers exclaimed, "I know where the diamond is!" Have you figured it out too? When the police came to Jack for the first time, his hair was much shorter. He must be wearing a wig. And the diamond is most likely hidden underneath. Liam was a pilot. Once there was an emergency during a flight. Liam had to land the plane right on the highway. Luckily, he was a skilled pilot and no one got hurt. But Liam hit his head and lost his memory. When he got out of the plane, 2 women ran toward him. Both of them claimed he was her husband. Can you figure out who's telling the truth? The woman on the left is a robot. Look, there's a USB port in her neck. A large ocean liner got shipwrecked, and only 5 people survived. They reached an uninhabited island. They were worn out, hungry, and thirsty. They didn't even have the strength to go look for food. So all they managed to get was 3 bananas. How can they divide them equally among 5 people? They should cut each banana into 5 pieces. Then each of them will get 3 pieces. Problem solved. Patrick called the police at night. He claimed he had been robbed. When the police arrived, he told them his story. "I was sleeping in my bedroom when some noise coming from the living room woke me up. I rushed there and saw a short man in a mask. When he noticed me, he opened the back door and ran away. He must have got in through the window. He took all my money." The police officers didn't believe Patrick. Why? If the criminal had got inside through the window, he would have ripped off these decorations, but as we see, they're still intact. Mary was a college teacher. It was the beginning of a new school year, and 3 new students joined the class. When Mary saw them, she immediately realized something was off about one of them. Who? It's the guy in the middle. He doesn't have a shadow. Several police officers were called to a hotel where one of the employees was found unconscious on the floor. The police checked security cameras to figure out what had happened. They didn't see the criminal, but now they had 3 suspects, all of them hotel guests. Sarah said, "I heard some noise but stayed in my room because I was scared." James told the police he'd been outside. He was trying to catch a taxi to go sightseeing. And Damien said he'd been sleeping at home at the time of the accident. Who is lying? Damien. He's a hotel guest. Then how could he be at home, sleeping? Bruce owned a large store that sold expensive designer items. Recently, there were several thefts there. The man asked his friend Gabriel, who was a police detective, to check what was going on. Gabriel spent 2 hours in the store. When he left it, he knew who the thief was and who was guilty of these crimes. Look, the thief is the detective himself. He has stolen a pair of costly sunglasses to prove that the store security is very bad. That's the reason for so many thefts. A mad scientist caught Kevin and locked him in a small room. There were no windows and the door was locked. But there was a note on the table. It was from the scientist. JFMAM. JASOND. Guess the missing letter, and I'll let you free. Several minutes later, Kevin was already running away from the strange place. He managed to figure out that the missing letter was J. Those were the first letters of the months of the year, from January to December. And the sixth letter, J, stood for June. Patrick shaves every day, but every morning, he finds his beard to be just as long as it was the day before. How come? Patrick is a barber. He shaves other people.
Amy is meeting her brother Ezra at a nightclub. Can you guess which one of these three guys is her brother? The first guy is wearing flowers just like Amy, but it doesn't prove anything. The third guy is wearing blue hair, but we still can see his blonde roots. Meanwhile, the second guy has a mole on his arm, and Amy has a similar feature. So he's the real Ezra. Today is Friday. Ezra is going on vacation in 73 days. Can you guess which day of the week it will be? Monday. 73 days is 10 weeks and 3 days. Friday plus 3 days is Monday. At the party, Ezra tells Amy 4 facts about himself. I spent $700 on my new sneakers. I graduated from college with honors. I don't have any piercings. My favorite color is purple. But only 3 facts are true. Can you guess which one is false? Ezra does have a piercing. Take a look at his eyebrow. Ezra goes outdoors to get some fresh air after dancing. One of these 4 shadows on the wall belongs to him. Can you spot which one? Only the 3rd shadow matches him perfectly. Ezra and Amy's granny lives in a country house. They want to surprise her and come with an unexpected visit. Granny wakes up at 7 a.m. with a knock on her door. Ezra and Amy yell to let her know that they're here for breakfast. Granny is confused, but quickly thinks of what food she has. She has milk, jam, butter, bread, and coffee. What will she open first? The door for Ezra and Amy. Ezra and Amy love nature. That's why they go for a walk in the woods after breakfast. On the way, they argue about who can collect a more beautiful flower bouquet. Finally, Amy and Ezra decide to separate, to pick the flowers and then bring them home to ask Granny which bouquet is the winner. On the way home, Ezra gets a rash all over his face. Can you find the toxic flowers in these 2 bouquets? Only Ezra suffered, so we need to look for the toxic flower in his bouquet. This is the flower we're looking for because it's the only flower that's absent from Amy's bouquet. Amy wants to help Ezra meet his true love. She takes him to a wedding fashion show and introduces him to 3 models. Each lady tells a couple of words about herself. Lauren says, "I'll work to earn $1 billion." Bianca says, "I have 3 sons and 3 daughters." And Monica says, "I'd like to travel all over the globe." Can you guess who Ezra will marry? Monica. Ezra is wearing a backpack with souvenirs from different countries, so he loves traveling too. Ezra's vacation begins. He arrives at the airport to fly to the Philippines. Security checks everyone's luggage and reveals one suspicious passenger. Can you guess who? There are two suspicious suitcases. This lady is bald, but she carries a big bottle of shampoo. And this guy has two left shoes from different pairs. Ezra checks in at the hostel and goes to his room. He discovers that he'd forgotten his hat at the cashier's desk. Ezra returns, but the hat isn't there. He asks 3 people nearby only one question. "Hey guys, have you seen my hat?" The manager says that he hasn't seen any hats. The guest says,
I arrived at this hotel 30 seconds ago and faced a guy wearing a red hat just like yours. He was leaving in a rush.
and the janitor says, "We have a room of lost things. There are many hats there, but we didn't get any new ones today." Who's the thief? No one specified that Ezra had lost a red hat, but the guest knew it because he had taken it. Ezra goes parachuting. He's about to land in a few seconds. There are 4 possible spots to touch down. A deep well full of crocodiles that a human would never manage to climb out of. A rainforest with venomous snakes and wild animals. A mountain with no water sources. And a huge tornado in the middle of a field. Which place is more or less safe for landing? The third one. Take a look at the background. There's a village near this rock. Yeesh, Ezra lands badly and wakes up in the hospital. The doctor says that he had a slight concussion and should stay for 1 day. Ezra leaves the ward and goes to the vending machine to buy some chocolate. He returns and finds out that someone had stolen his phone. He questions 3 witnesses. The doctor says, "I had an urgent surgery, so I didn't enter your ward." The nurse says, "I was having a lunch break outdoors." And Mike, another patient, says, "It was the nurse. I pretended to be sleeping so she didn't know that I was watching her." Who's suspicious? Mike. Take a look at the cast on his arm. It was on the right arm when Ezra was leaving, and now it's on the left. The local police brought a famous criminal to the hospital for urgent surgery, but leaving him here alone is too dangerous. That's why 2 policemen had to stay to guard him 24/7. Day by day, the criminal gets better, and then, one sunny day after lunch, he disappears from his hospital bed. Detectives immediately begin investigating his escape. They find out that the criminal had an accomplice who pretended to be one of the doctors. Detectives interrogate 3 suspects. The surgeon says, "I'm the most honest person in the hospital. I would never commit a crime." The nurse says, "I didn't even see the criminal. I wasn't allowed to enter his room." And the chief physician replies, "I don't remember anything. At the time of the escape, I was on night duty and very tired." Who's lying? It's the chief physician. He said it was his night duty, but the criminal escaped in the afternoon. Ezra takes the local public bus to get to a mountainous region. The driver hits the road. He is responsible for both driving and collecting the tickets. When the bus reaches the bridge, the driver starts collecting tickets from all the passengers, but the bus didn't topple from the bridge. Can you guess how that's possible? Easy. The driver had parked the bus before beginning to collect the tickets. The bus reaches its stop. All the passengers leave, except for one guy who's still sleeping. The driver walks up to him, but the man doesn't wake up. He calls an ambulance. The doctor arrives immediately and spots 3 buses in front of him. Can you guess where he can find his patient? Passengers are entering the first bus and leaving the third bus, so the doctor should check the second bus. Ezra is a travel blogger, and the number of his followers is rising. He decides to hire a manager and post a job advertisement. Ezra starts receiving applications right away. Ezra needs your help to filter out real applicants among these 3 people. Take a look at this guy's birth date. There's no 14th month. And this application must be generated by a robot, unless this person is a time traveler. So Ezra should consider hiring the first guy. The local celebrity Gia is singing in a club tonight. Ezra comes to her concert just like many other people. After the show, Gia goes to the dressing room. A lot of people gather around it begging for a selfie with the diva. Gia's guard allows fans to enter only one by one. After a while, Gia disappears. The police figure out that someone has kidnapped her and escaped through the window. They question 3 fans. Fran says,
I'm a singer too and a huge fan of Gia.
Nicholas says, I visit all her concerts. She's my crush. One day, I'm gonna marry her. And Ezra says, I'm not guilty. I just came here to take a selfie and make my sister jealous. The police figure out who's suspicious right away. How? It's 10:54 and the clock is broken, probably because Gia had a fight with her kidnappers. And now, let's take a look at the time in the pictures. Fran was the last person to see Gia, so she's the most suspicious. Alex returns to his home office after a lunch break. He realizes that someone went through his office. Looks like my wife was trying to find something again. How did he figure it out? There's a lipstick mark on this mug. Also, she dropped a pencil on the floor. And this book on the shelf is gone. What's a ghost's favorite dessert? Ice cream. What is it like to be kissed by a vampire? It's a pain in the neck. Who did a ghost go to the party with? Nobody. What image doesn't fit here? The pink one. The rest are the colors of the rainbow. Which flower doesn't belong here? Lotus. It grows in water. Which hand do you think belongs to a millionaire? Choose one of these 4 options. If you choose A, you're brave enough to go against the tide. You are always confident and charismatic. B, you never shirk from your responsibilities and don't waste even a minute. C, you treat your life as a game and enjoy every moment. You're fearless. D, efficiency is your second name. You're a talented and motivated person who always achieves your goal. What doesn't fit here? Nose. The rest exists in pairs. On Monday afternoon, someone destroyed a baking fair at the local school. The furniture and pastries are all over the place. And all cash from the donation box is gone. The principal calls all students and staff for interrogation. One of these students is guilty. Can you guess who? The criminal has lost his watch, and this guy has a tan line where the watch used to be. Suspicious. Bobby goes on a bus trip with his classmates. On the way, he takes a brief nap. Then he wakes up and pulls out his lunchbox. Oh no! Someone took all his food! Bobby interrogates 4 suspects. Shannon says, I was watching stories on my phone. I didn't look around. Xavier says, the view is so stunning. I tried to take pictures from the window, but this stupid glass is too shiny. Bella says, I'm on a gluten-free vegan diet. Why would I need to steal your regular lunch? And Tim says, I think it was Bella. I saw her eating a burger last night, so she's a fake vegan. Who stole Bobby's lunch? Take a look at the pictures taken by Xavier. We can see the thief's reflection in the window. It was Shannon. Noah arrives at a ski resort in the mountains. He sees 4 people in the lobby. Each says, Welcome, I'm the owner of this hotel. Nice to meet you. Only one of them tells the truth. Can you guess who? Only this guy doesn't wear a badge with the hotel logo. Therefore, he's the owner, and the others are his employees. Can you spot a fake musician? This guy, he has no strings. Stanley is a college professor. He's teaching in the class. Suddenly, a paper plane smacks his head. Stanley gets furious and asks, Who did that? No one raises their hand, but Stanley figures out who's guilty right away. Can you guess too? Take a look at the color of this guy's notebook. It matches the color of the plane. He's the only one who has such a colorful notebook, so he's the one who pranked Stanley. This Sunday evening, Tina is having the most epic concert in her entire career. But she's very upset because someone stole all her costumes from the dressing room while she was in the toilet. She questions 3 suspects. Dylan, the guitar player, says, Look, Tina, I know we had some issues in the past, but I would never betray you like this. I'm not a monster. Monica, the backup singer, says, I haven't even entered the dressing room yet. I got stuck in a traffic jam because many people returned home from work. That was so annoying. And Tyler, Tina's boyfriend, says, Darling, I've been drinking coffee with friends in the lobby, and I think I saw some glitter from your costume on the floor. Who's lying? Monica. Sunday is a non-working day, so the traffic jam couldn't appear for the reason that she mentioned. Take a look at this picture. Who's the worst friend? This lady stains her friend's outfit with lipstick. Take a look at this picture. Can you spot a time traveler? He's over here. Can you guess which coffee mug will fill up first? The second mug. In fact, it's the only mug that will be filled. Peter wakes up in a dusty broom closet. Now, he needs to choose one of these 3 doors to escape. There are 5 angry wolves behind the first door. Behind the second door, there's a tank with ditch water. It's toxic and fatal for any insect. And there's a fire behind the third door. Which way should Peter choose? Peter can use this bucket and collect water from the second room to put out the fire. Nobody said that this water is toxic for humans too. and then he can leave through the third room. Steven is changing a 5-letter password on the office laptop. Now he's the only person who knows the code. Steven decides to challenge his colleague's intelligence and leaves this little clue. Can you figure out the password? It looks like a shopping list, but the number before each word shows which letter you should take away from the word. So the new code is sushi. One Saturday morning, someone robbed a mansion owned by a wealthy old lady, Mrs. Green. The police officer arrives and questions all the suspects. Her husband says, "I was taking a shower." The gardener says, "I was cutting the grass." The butler says, "I was cleaning the swimming pool." And the chef says, "But of course I was cooking dinner." Who's suspicious? The butler. It's not his responsibility to clean the pool. Rose goes hiking and gets lost in the mountains. After a while, she runs out of food and gets really hungry. Rose wanders around and finds 3 options: raspberry bush, canned beans, and a package with bananas left by some tourists. But only one of them is safe to eat. Can you help Rose choose the right food? Raspberries are too risky. There's a huge spider creeping on the branches. And this can is pierced, so the beans are probably rotten. So Rose should choose bananas. They look pretty fresh. Frank works in an open space. She leaves his workplace to have lunch. After a while, he returns and finds out that someone had crashed the screen on his laptop. Frank questions 3 of his coworkers. Jack says, "Sorry, I've been in the toilet. I shouldn't have had that tuna sandwich for lunch." Kitty says,
I've been having a conference call outside the open space.
and Lily says, "I was talking to our boss in his office." Can you guess who's guilty? Lily crashed the laptop. Take a look at her trash bin. There's a hammer inside it. Jill works as a nurse at the local hospital. One day, she comes to the room to put each of the patients on a drip. "Don't stand up until I come to change the drips." But when Jill returns, she immediately realizes that one of the patients had stood up. Can you guess who? It's this guy. The phone was in his hand when Jill entered the room for the first time. And now the very same phone is charging on the other side of the room. Therefore, he got up to plug it in. Which house belongs to a zombie? The second one. What number is missing? The first number is the sum of slices of pizza, and the second implies the amount of olives on them. So the missing number is 45. What about these dessert plates? What number is missing here? The first number represents how many different types of food are on the plate, and the second shows how many pieces are on the plate. So the missing number is 38. Hey Brightsiders, how about giving your sharp mind a shake? Then put on your detective hat and listen attentively. One day, Johnson woke up and immediately felt that something was wrong. While sleeping, he somehow turned into a metal robot. Johnson looked around. The place where he woke up seemed to be a dungeon, dark, damp, and very cold. There were 3 corridors leading out of that place. The first passage had a treacherous floor. Some of its panels could collapse, sending people into an abyss. Massive boulders fell from the ceiling of the second corridor every 30 seconds. And the third passage was filled with giant cacti whose thorns were covered in poison.
Uh-oh.
Which corridor is the safest? Johnson picked the third corridor. Thorns would do no harm to his now metal body, even the ones covered in poison. Mila was locked in a jail cell. It was rather small, with a dirt floor and a small window high above the ground. The only thing she saw was a tiny shovel in the corner. In a couple of hours, Mila managed to break free from the cell. How did she do it? She dug a hole in the floor. Then she made a pile using the soil, climbed on top of it, and escaped through the window. A student failed an important exam, but the professor decided to give him another chance. She said, "If you crack my riddle, I'll let you take the exam again. 2 plus 2 is the same as 2 times 2. Find a set of 3 whole numbers whose sum will be the same as their total when multiplied." The student didn't need much time to figure out the answer. These numbers are 1, 2, and 3. One guy decided to become a scuba diver, but during his first dive, he got dazed and disoriented. He couldn't figure out which way he should swim to get to the surface. Soon, he also noticed he was running out of air. He started panicking. Can you help the poor guy find his way to the surface? He should swim in the directions where bubbles go. Yay! You've saved him. Great job! A unique diamond was on exhibition in a famous museum. It was guarded at all times, and only a small group of 10 people were allowed to enter the room. After one of such groups had left, an alarm went off. The guards ran into the room and found a young man there. When they searched him, they found nothing extraordinary. Just several bills, a lighter, a bottle of soda, a camera, and a smartphone. The guards had to let the man go, but the next morning, it was announced that the diamond had been stolen. How did it happen? The man replaced the real diamond with a fake one and hid the real treasure in his bottle of soda. Emma came to the office on Monday and found out that someone had deleted an important report from her computer. She knew that in the company there were 3 people who would be happy if she lost her job. She decided to question the suspects. Laura, Emma's colleague, said, "I've just arrived. The weather is awful, such a downpour." Thomas, the accountant, answered,
I was out buying coffee and have just returned.
and Eliza, a new employee, said,
I had a meeting with a client in a cafe. I've just come back to the office.
Who has anything to do with Emma's report? Eliza. Pay attention to the suspect's feet. Thomas and Laura's shoes are wet. They got caught in the rain. But Eliza's high heels are perfectly dry. She must have lied about going out to meet with a client. You wake up and find yourself trapped in a room. There's only a mattress to sleep on, some food, a small knife, a water dispenser, and a large water bottle. It's enough for you to survive for 2 days. There are 3 doors in the room. The corridor behind the first one is filled with toxic gas. Behind the second door, the hall is swarming with venomous snakes. And if you opt for the third door, you'll find yourself in a giant aquarium with hungry sharks. Which door should you choose? Empty the water dispenser and cut its top part with the help of the knife. Then put it over your head so that no air can get inside. Then leave fast enough through the first door. Imagine finding yourself in a room with 4 doors and a deep pit in the middle. Behind the first door, there's a ferocious tiger. The space behind the second door is filled with bubbling lava. The third door prevents poisonous gas from leaking into the room. And the fourth door leads to a tiny storage room with no windows. You have to decide fast how to get out of this trap. You should open the first door. When the tiger jumps at you, you should step aside. The animal will fall into the pit, and you will be able to escape through the first room. Look at poor Amanda. She dozed off during a lecture, and when she woke up, she discovered someone had ruined her hair. Can you figure out who did it? The culprit is the guy on the right. Look, there are scissors sticking out of his pocket. Mickey woke up in a small room without windows. She didn't know how she got there. The girl noticed a door with a combination lock on it. And on the floor next to her, there was a note. Spelled forward were those rodents that terrify you. But what you need is spelled backward. You can't touch it, but you see it at night. What is the password? The rodents the note speaks about are rats. Then the word Mickey needs is star. Now, this riddle might seem kinda cruel, but try not to take it seriously and think outside the box. So, what happens to a person whose whole left side gets cut off? They're all right now. Heh, told you it wasn't too bad. Jack reached the final of a popular game show. Now, if he wanted to get his prize, he had to pass the last challenge. He entered a large hall with 3 cardboard boxes in the center. One of them had white balls inside. The second contained black balls, and the third was filled with black and white balls. The boxes were sealed and labeled, but all the labels were wrong. Jack was allowed to open one box, pick a ball, check its color, and put the ball back into the box. How many times would the man have to repeat this action to label all the boxes correctly? Jack managed to do it after picking just one ball. He chose the box labeled BW, which stood for black and white. Since all labels were wrong, it could be either BB or WW. He pulled out a black ball, so the box was actually BB. Then, logically, Jack figured out the rest of the boxes. Now, let's check how attentive you are. 3 guys were playing hide and seek. One of them hid in the kitchen. Can you help his friends find him? Yep, I don't know how he did it, but he managed to squeeze into the oven. Now, I've got a tricky but fun task for you. I'll be showing you different emoji combinations, and you'll need to figure out what Disney movies they stand for. Let's start with these emojis. What movie is hidden here? Right, it's 101 Dalmatians. The next one for you. That's The Little Mermaid. How about this very popular one? I believe these days there's no person who doesn't know about Frozen. And the last one for you. I admit this one might have been a bit tough. Have you recognized Wally? Louis is a famous fashion designer. He's visiting a fair and 3 wholesalers offer him their fabrics. Lauren says, "My entire collection is made of natural materials. Just feel it." Olaf says, "I have the best prices, sir. You'll never find such a good deal elsewhere." And Renata says, "Since you've been my favorite client for many years, I'll offer you a big discount this time."
Oh, really?
Who's lying? Olaf. Look, Lauren also has the same floral fabric, but her price is twice lower. Louis is meeting his makeup artist Karen and 3 models that he selected for his upcoming show: Sally, Kelly, and Shelley.
Hello.
One of these 3 models is broke. Can you guess who? Sally's phone doesn't look chic, but it doesn't prove anything. Maybe she has just crashed it and didn't have time to pay for repairs. Meanwhile, Shelley is grabbing lipstick from Karen's bag, but maybe her intention is just to freshen her makeup. But Kelly is the only one who didn't cut off the price tag on her fancy jeans. Probably to be able to return them to the store. Louis has been working hard in his studio all morning. He had just finished the last dress for his future show. Masterpiece, I'm a genius! Louis leaves it in a storage room and goes outdoors to talk on the phone. 20 minutes later, he returns and barely faints.
Oh my God!
Someone had torn his masterpiece. Louis questions 3 suspects. Jerry, the office manager, says,
I didn't touch the dress. I was repairing our coffee machine.
Karen, the makeup artist, says, I entered the storage room 30 minutes ago to take pictures of this dress and create matching makeup. It was fine. And Sandra, the cleaning lady, says, I entered the storage room with a vacuum cleaner 5 minutes ago. The dress looked torn, but I thought it was your fancy design. Who's lying? Karen, 30 minutes ago, the dress wasn't finished yet, so she couldn't see it in the storage room. Louis and his wife, Maya, come to the big city for Fashion Week. They check in at the hotel, and Louis goes to the shower. Meanwhile, Maya goes outdoors to buy some coffee. Soon, Louis gets a call from an unknown number. A stranger says that he has kidnapped Maya and asks for a ransom. You have to leave the money in a phone booth on 62nd Street. If you call the police, you'll never see Maya again. Louis spent a long day looking for 62nd Street, but he couldn't find it. Finally, he gets a taxi. The driver says that this street has another name. Can you guess the real name of the street? Minute Street, because this number is pronounced 60 seconds, which is literally a minute. Louis brings the money to the phone booth. There, he meets a masked criminal who doesn't say a word. He just gestures to Louis to follow him. But Louis says, Come on, Maya, it's just a prank. How did he know? Take a look at Louis' hand. He's wearing a pretty extravagant wedding ring. And the pranker is wearing the same ring, as well as Maya's manicure. The next morning, Louis and Maya are driving to Fashion Week together and get stuck in a traffic jam. They see these 2 guys on the road. Can you figure out which one is more dangerous? The man on the right. He's not looking at the road. Finally, the guys arrive at the Fashion Week. There's a huge crowd around the podium. Can you see a policeman? He's over here. They go backstage and it's crowded as well, but one of these models is not from Earth. Can you guess who? This lady who's eating hairstyling foam is definitely a stranger on this planet. Louis's fashion show begins, but some of his models lose their balance and fall. Louis investigates this accident afterwards and finds out that someone had scattered pearl beads on the podium on purpose. He interrogates 3 suspects. His fashion rival, Bianca, says,
Before the show, I was taking selfies with influencers. I have evidence. See?
Famous blogger Hannah says, Come on, Louis, their failure went viral, so you should be grateful. And the guard, Xavier, says, Random people are not allowed to enter, so it was one of the guests. After hearing what they had to say, Louis knows for sure who's guilty. What about you? It was Bianca. Take a look at her selfies with influencers. She's wearing 3 strands of pearls, but now she only has 2. After the show, Louis gets an invitation to a fancy party in a secret nightclub. He's never been there before, so he's wandering around for a while and finds 2 doors. There's a guard standing by each door. One of them leads to the nightclub, and the second one to a creepy basement full of traps. One guard always lies, and the other one always tells the truth. Louis can only ask one yes or no question to one of the guards. What question should he ask? Here's the right question. Would the other guard say that this door leads into a trap? If he says yes, then it leads to the club. The next morning, Louis enters his design studio and sees a huge bouquet of roses at his desk. The card says, From a secret admirer. There are only 3 people in the studio today, Maya, Jerry, and Melissa. One of them is the secret admirer. Can you guess who? Jerry. There are some rose petals under his desk. Louis throws a Halloween party at his house, but right before the event, he sees that someone has broken his favorite antique vase. Louis questions everyone in the house. Louis's wife, Maya, says, I don't know what happened. I was making a costume. The chef says, I've just arrived with my ingredients to cook candies for trick-or-treaters. Louis's assistant says, I was decorating the house for the party. And his sister says,
I went trick-or-treating and already collected a bunch of candies.
Who's lying? The chef. It doesn't look like he's making candies. After the party, Maya tells Louis, I have a riddle for you. If you crack it, I'll wash all the dishes. Louis agrees.
Yeah!
It's fun to do, but you hate knowing your parents do it too. What is it? The correct answer is Facebook. The next day, Louis wakes up inspired. He arrives at his studio to make some sketches and freaks out. Can you find 5 weird things about this place? There's a ghost reflected in this mirror. This mannequin is moving and winking. All the windows are closed, but the curtains are flowing. This lamp doesn't have any wires, it's just floating in the air. And the hat is decorated with rotten fish. Suddenly, Louis hears a weird sound. It's coming from the basement. He walks down there, but it's empty. Suddenly, the door slams shut. To escape, Louis needs to choose one of these 3 doors. The first path is filled with toxic gas. The second path has a bunch of bare wires, and there's a fire-breathing dragon behind the third door. Can you help Louis choose the right door? Louis should choose the second door. The floor is dry, and he can easily crawl under the wires. Louis walks outside and moves to the parking lot. Finally, Louis finds his card. Can you see anything weird here? The reflection in this window doesn't match reality. Louis opens a new fashionable boutique and throws a party, but one of his guests is a thief. Can you spot who exactly? This guy. He's wearing 2 watches. There are many glamorous guests at the boutique opening. Take a look at these 3 couples. One of them will divorce soon. Can you guess who? This one, she doesn't even want to touch him. At the party, one of the ladies approaches Louis and says, "Excuse me, have you seen my husband?" One of these 3 guys is her husband. Can you guess who? It's this guy. He's wearing red trousers, and this lady is holding his red jacket. Elvis is a wedding planner. He receives a call from his client, Megan. She's very upset. Megan is getting married in 3 hours, but she has just discovered that her wedding dress is cut in pieces. Elvis comes over with a new dress. He interrogates the bridesmaids. Shannon says, "I was washing Megan's clothes in the bathroom. I don't know what could have happened." Diana says, "I was hanging out with her mom in the garden. I didn't even touch the dress today." And Amy says, "I applied makeup in the dressing room, and then I went to the canteen to have a snack." Who destroyed the dress? Diana. She's hiding scissors in her hair bun. Megan offers Elvis 2 trays with cupcakes. Can you find 10 differences between them? Here they are. The next day, Elvis is having business meetings with engaged couples. Surprisingly, one of these 2 couples are vampires. Oh no. Can you guess who? It's all about the mirror. Take a look at the second couple. Their appearance doesn't match the reflection. Therefore, they're vampires. Delivery service brings a fancy bouquet to Elvis's office. It has 77 flowers, out of which all but 15 withered. Can you count how many flowers are still fresh? To solve this mystery, we should pay attention to the question. The phrase, "all but 15 withered," literally means that all except 15 flowers are dry. Therefore, only 15 flowers remain fresh. Elvis shows 2 variants of flower decoration to his clients, William and Tiffany. This couple is very picky. They want their wedding to be perfect. Tiffany says, "But they're identical." And William says, "No, they're not. I can see 5 differences." Who's right? Nobody. In fact, there are 10 differences between these 2 images. After that, Elvis shows William and Tiffany 4 wedding cake samples. Unfortunately, they didn't warn him about their allergies. Tiffany is allergic to strawberries, while William can't stand chocolate. Can you guess which cake they would choose? The first slice contains both forbidden ingredients at once, and the 4th one has strawberry pieces in the middle layer, so we can exclude them. The 3rd cake looks nice, but it still has a chocolate bottom. Only the 2nd cake looks like a completely safe option. Then Elvis asks Tiffany, "What kind of wedding bouquet would you like?" Tiffany replies, "In my dream bouquet, all flowers but 2 should be lilies, all but 2 tulips, and all but 2 roses." Can you help Elvis count the total number of flowers in this bouquet? To crack this riddle, we should pay attention to the phrase, all but two. The correct answer is 3. Elvis's bestie, Claire, runs a luxurious wedding boutique. One day he comes over and she complains, "Somebody's stealing clothes from my boutique. Each time the guard fails to spot the thief, I fire him and hire another person, but we can't catch the thief." Elvis replies, "Let me take a look." He watches the camera records and spots the criminal right away. What about you? It's this lady. She cut off the labels. Elvis is visiting a small private jewelry shop to make engravings for his clients' wedding rings. But unfortunately, the door is locked and nobody answers his calls. There's a combination lock on the door. Can you help Elvis figure out the letter code to open it? There's a note on the door listing 5 words: diamond, daisy, opal, ruby, and emerald. One word is different from all the others. The correct password is daisy because all the other words are gemstones. Elvis enters the shop and looks around. Suddenly, he sees this wedding picture and freaks out. One of these persons is a werewolf. Can you guess who? It's a full moon, which means the werewolf will turn soon. It's the groom. He's trying to hide his claws in his pocket. Finally, the jeweler shows up and starts a conversation with Elvis. Suddenly, a huge stone breaks the shop window. It seems like someone did it on purpose. They call the police and interrogate 3 people nearby. Paul says, "I was jogging around the block and I didn't hear anything in my headphones." Emma says, "I live above your shop on the 4th floor. I was washing my window and suddenly I heard a terrible sound." And Frank says, "I was walking my dog nearby. I didn't look at your shop. I was too busy taking selfies with my pet." Elvis figures out a liar right away. What about you? Emma, this building has only 3 stories. The jeweler offers Elvis a game.
There are 3 doors leading to a secret room with rare diamonds. If you manage to get there alive, they're yours.
But each way has hidden dangers. A hungry mountain lion guards the first passage. There's an aquarium with hungry piranhas behind the second door. And the third passage is filled with venomous scorpions. Which way is more or less safe? The second one. Elvis can just bypass the aquarium and go ahead. Elvis walks out of the jewelry shop with his brand new diamonds. Suddenly, a masked thief grabs the stones and runs away. Elvis follows him. The thief jumps in a car and leaves. There are 3 car drivers nearby. Each offers Elvis a free ride to catch the criminal, but only one of them is trustworthy. Can you guess who? The first guy's face is hanging on this wall. He's a runaway criminal. And the third guy's car lacks a wheel. Therefore, Elvis should pick the second driver. The thief parks his car near the local museum and hides inside the building. Elvis follows him and enters the main hallway. There are so many visitors here. Looks like the thief changed his outfit. Can you spot him? The thief was wearing a broken smartwatch on his right hand, so it's this guy. Finally, Elvis gets his diamonds back and invests them to fulfill his biggest dream, to open a trendy restaurant. He buys a building and orders furniture and household appliances online. He gets free delivery as a gift. The next day, 3 movers arrive and begin to bring in all the purchases. Unfortunately, one of the guys breaks an expensive TV. Elvis questions the movers. The first one says, "I was carrying the fridge into the house and accidentally dropped it on my foot. I didn't break the TV." The second one says, I brought the sofa, so I was very busy, and I don't know who's guilty. And the third mover says, I helped the first one with the fridge, and then I ran to get the first aid kit for his foot. One of them is lying. Can you guess who? The second guy said that he brought the sofa by himself, but it's too heavy for one person. Finally, the restaurant opens. Today is a special night for Elvis. His former classmate, Roger, is a famous restaurant critic. He comes over to check out this place. The evening goes perfectly, but the next day, Roger publishes a terrible review.
Stay away from this dump. It was the worst cake in my life.
Elvis is confused. The waiter did everything perfectly. The barista made great drinks, and the chef made 3 perfect meals: soup, steak, and salad. Can you guess what happened here? Roger wrote that he tasted a cake, but it wasn't among the dishes that he actually ordered. Seems like he lied to ruin Elvis's business. The next morning, Elvis arrives at his restaurant and faces another unpleasant surprise. One of these 3 guys painted his window. He interrogates them. Mike says, "It was Harry." Harry says,
I didn't do it. It was Daryl.
and Daryl says, "Mike painted your window." Can you help Elvis figure out who's guilty? Daryl has spray paint in his backpack, but only Harry's hands are stained. He must have messed up Elvis's window and then framed Daryl. Elvis hangs these 2 pictures as decor for his restaurant. Can you spot 10 differences? Here you go.
Marjorie owns a farm. There are 6 apple trees and 7 lemon trees on her land. Each apple tree has 12 fruits, and each lemon tree has 10 fruits. How many oranges are there in total? Zero. We didn't say that Marjorie has any orange trees. Marjorie inserts her diamond ring in a glass bottle and closes it with the help of a cork. Then she takes the ring out of the bottle without taking out the cork or breaking the bottle. Can you guess how she did it? Easy. She pushed the cork inside the bottle and then took out the ring. Marjorie lost her smartwatch somewhere in the fields. She uses her phone to detect the current location of her gadget. The phone draws 3 possible routes, but only one of them will actually take her to the smartwatch. Can you help Marjorie choose the right way? Route A is correct. Early in the morning, Marjorie enters one of the farm's barns. Oh no! Someone broke all the bottles with cherry juice. She asks her 3 workers to clean up the mess. Meanwhile, she interrogates them. "Who did it?" Marjorie asks. Frank replies, "Yesterday in the afternoon, I put all the cherry juice bottles on the shelves and left home. I don't know what happened." Phil says, "I didn't feel well last night, so I didn't touch the juice, and I went to bed early." And Anna says, "Yesterday I painted the fence all day. I didn't even enter the barn." Who's lying? Anna. She said she painted the fence, but it doesn't look freshly painted at all. After a long working day, Marjorie wants to relax and goes to the public swimming pool. She spots something really weird in the shower. One of these ladies is not from this planet. Can you guess who? The third lady. She's using ketchup to wash her hair instead of shampoo. Marjorie meets her 3 best friends by the pool: Megan, Sarah, and Raven. One of them gave birth to triplets 4 years ago. Can you guess who exactly? Raven. Take a look at her hands. She's wearing 3 DIY bracelets with the word Mom. The triplets are now 4 years old, and her jewelry looks like something that they could have crafted. Marjorie and her besties go to a concert, but only one of these people is a real musician. Can you guess who? It's the second guy. The first lady put her sheet music upside down. After the concert, Marjorie takes a walk down the local street. There are 100 houses numbered from 1 to 100 on the street. Can you count how many times they use the digit 9 to number all the houses? The correct answer is 19. The mystery can be solved using simple math. The digit 9 should occur in the following numbers. All we need to do is to count the number of 9s in this sequence. Marjorie comes home late at night and sees something creepy in her living room. Can you see it too? There are 3 ghosts in this room. What about the warehouse? Can you spot any ghosts here? Hello? Let's take a look at the bedroom. Ooh, there are 5 ghosts. Can someone call Ghostbusters? The next morning, Marjorie goes picking apples on her farm. Suddenly, someone spills cherry juice on her head. She noticed that someone climbed on a tree to pull that prank, but she didn't see this person's face. So Marjorie interrogates 3 people working on the farm that day. Frank says, "I was watering vegetables far away from the apple trees." Phil says, "I was in the kitchen preparing ingredients for the lemon jam production, just like you asked me." And Nina says, "I was in the garden picking lemons for the jam." Marjorie figures out who did it right away. What about you? It was Phil. He tore his shirt and a piece of fabric got stuck on the branch of an apple tree. A group of tourists arrives at the farm and Marjorie gives them a fun tour. Unfortunately, one of these guests is a thief. Can you guess who? This lady. She's sneaking cash from another person's purse. It's raining heavily all day, so Marjorie stays home alone and fries pancakes in the kitchen. Suddenly, she realizes that she had forgotten to switch off the TV in the living room and goes there. In a minute, Marjorie returns to the kitchen and gets speechless. Why? Can you guess? When Marjorie left the kitchen, one prepared pancake was on the dish. But now it's gone. All the windows are locked. So, who did it? Suddenly, Marjorie hears weird sounds from the basement. She goes there and finds the thieves. A family of raccoons broke into her house and sneaked the pancake. Can you count the exact number of animals in the basement? The task was to count the number of all animals, so the correct answer is 7. There are 4 raccoons, 1 cat, and 2 rats. The next day, Marjorie goes into her sunflower field to check how the flowers are doing. Can you spot what's odd here? There's a socket built into the ground. Marjorie goes to Megan's birthday party. One of the guests has the number 2 written on his forehead, and the other has 3. Megan offers everyone a game. All 3 of you have a number on your forehead. The number on one of your foreheads is the sum of the other numbers. All the numbers are unique. Now, you can't talk to each other. If you guess your number correctly, you won't have to wash dishes. So, can you guess Marjorie's number? It could either be 1 or 5, but if her number was 1, the guy with 3 would see that and guess his own number. Therefore, Marjorie has the number 5 on her forehead. The next day, Marjorie enters the farm's main barn. It's time to plant flowers in larger pots. She takes off her diamond ring to protect it from dirt. Marjorie puts it on the table. The process is almost finished, but suddenly Marjorie's phone rings and she leaves the barn to answer the call. After a while, she comes back and sees that the ring is missing. There are only 3 people on the farm today: Frank, Nina, and Megan. So Marjorie says, "One of you has taken my ring. What were you doing when I left the barn?" Frank replies, "I was in the bathroom washing pumpkins with Nina." Nina replies, "Yes, we were washing the vegetables." And Megan says, "I was just taking selfies with pumpkins. Who took the ring?" Look at this bird cage. It was opened. The canary bird flew out and took the ring. There are 3 sets of lab equipment on Marjorie's table. Can you sort the odd one out? This one doesn't have a flame. Marjorie throws a harvest festival at her farm. Her friends and coworkers chill all together. Can you spot any zombies among them? This dancer in the bushes doesn't look alive. As evening came, bright stars and a new moon showed up in the sky. Now Marjorie has to choose one of these 3 tunnels to escape. There's a family of creepy werewolves hanging out inside the first tunnel. The second tunnel is a home for mutant bats. They feed on humans and stay awake 24/7. And there is an unknown monster hiding in the third tunnel. Unknown because no one had ever returned from there alive to tell. Which tunnel is more or less safe to enter? Marjorie should choose the first tunnel. It's a new moon, so the werewolves are not dangerous yet.
Amber's husband, Carl, is an artist. Can you guess which one of these ladies is Amber? It's the lady in the middle. She has the same paint stains on her clothes as Carl has on his jeans. Carl gets an invitation to visit a mysterious fortune teller, Morgana. She has built a maze so that only smart people could reach her house. Which one of these routes should Carl choose? Only the first path will take him to the final destination. Morgana treats Carl with a welcome drink. Only one of these 3 drinks is safe. Can you guess which one? The first drink. There's a human tooth inside the second glass, and there are too many flies around the third drink, so it's probably not fresh. Morgana says,
"I've got a surprise for you. People put it on the table but never eat it. What is it?"
Can you guess? The correct answer is a pack of cards. Carl gets his brand new pack of cards. Morgana offers him a mind game. From the pack of 52 cards, she places 4 cards on the table face down and gives Carl 4 clues about the card. Card on the left cannot be greater than the card on the right. The difference between the first card and the third card is 8. There's no single ace among these 4 cards. Also, there are no face cards. And finally, the difference between the second and the fourth card is 7. Can you help Carl guess the values of all 4 cards? Alright, let's put everything on the table. The task was to guess the value, so we can pay no attention to the suits. The first card has to be 2, and the third card has to be 10. There's simply no other way the difference can be 8. The first and the fourth clues reveal that the fourth card can only be 10. And, thanks to clue 5, we know that the second card amounts to 3. So here's the correct answer. Carl successfully solves the riddle. Morgana is impressed. She says,
Now that I see you deserve my gift, I will give you a magic amulet that will turn you into the richest artist. These 3 tunnels lead to the room where the treasure is hidden. You must choose wisely if you want to stay safe.
There's a rhino cuddling her calves in the first tunnel. The second tunnel is filled with gas, which is fatal for any insect. There are thousands of venomous snakes crawling around the third tunnel. Which way is more or less safe? The second one. Nobody said that the gas is dangerous for humans. The next day, Carl feels sick and goes to the hospital. He meets these 3 women in the lobby. Can you find a doctor's wife among them? Take a look at the poster. This doctor is a dentist. The first lady is his patient. And the third one is his colleague, so the second lady is his wife. 3 doctors approach Carl, but one of them is fake. Can you guess who? Take a look at this guy's badge. There's a female picture and a name on it, so he's probably an imposter. The doctor invites Carl to his lab. Can you help him find these 3 items? Here they are. In the evening, Carl arrives home. He spots 5 weird things about this place right away. Can you see them too? The house number is hanging upside down. This raccoon is talking on a cell phone. The bicycle is moving without a rider. This lantern doesn't have a lamppost and floats in the air by itself. And finally, these flowers in the garden are blooming in the middle of winter. Carl enters his house. Surprise! His friends prepared a secret party for his birthday. Everything goes well, but suddenly the lights turn off for 30 seconds. When the power is back again, Carl sees that someone has sneaked his lucky amulet from his neck. He questions 3 suspects. Rick says, "I was cooking snacks in the kitchen. The light turned off so suddenly." Bella says, "I was in the middle of a chess game when the power turned off." And Ren says, "I've been dancing in the living room for the last 30 minutes, and the dark didn't stop me." Who's lying? Bella. She said she was in the middle of her game, but all chess pieces are standing in their initial positions. Bella escapes with the amulet and flies away to Seychelles with her boyfriend, Josh. Can you guess which one of these guys is Josh? The second guy. He's lying on her beach wrap. Bella is watching a boxing match on TV. It's a friendly match between two heavyweights which consists of 12 rounds, but it was finished after the 7th round because the boxer knocked out the other one. But during the match, no man threw even a single punch. How can this be possible? Easy. It was between two female boxers. In the hotel, Bella has only 3 neighbors on her floor. One of them is turning into a zombie. Can you guess who? This lady. It's hot. Why is she wearing a warm scarf? Bella leaves her hotel room to get some ice. 2 minutes later, she returns and finds out that someone had broken in. How did she know? When she was leaving, the balcony door was opened and now it's locked. It was Carl who robbed Bella. He just took back his amulet and ran away to the roof. Unfortunately, now he's trapped on the roof of the hotel building. It's 200 feet high. There's a hook on the roof and another hook 100 feet down from it. Carl finds a 150-foot long rope and a sharp knife. How can he climb down safely? Carl should cut the rope into 2 parts, 50 and 100 feet. Then make a knot at the end of the shorter rope and put the longer one through it. Then he should slide down the ropes and untie the longer rope to be able to use it again with the second hook. Carl uses his lucky amulet and his art becomes super famous. One day, he receives a phone call from the police. They arrested a group of criminals who tried to sell illegal copies of Carl's artwork. They confiscated 3 paintings. Carl said that one of them is original. Can you guess which one? The first painting is a mirrored version of the original work. The second one has a barely visible handprint. Therefore, only the third painting is original. Carl exhibits a huge collage in a gallery. Can you spot any outstanding images? This guy over here. Carl goes to the gym for a morning workout. He sees something weird and freaks out. Can you spot what's wrong? A huge spider is crawling out of the ventilation. Carl puts his bags in a locker before going to the gym shower. He locks it and takes the key with him. He hangs the key on a hook together with his towel. After bathing, Carl finds out that someone had stolen the key and robbed his locker. He questions 3 suspects, but all of them say they were taking a shower and didn't see anything. Who is lying? The third guy. Take a look at his feet. They're too dirty for a man who has just taken a shower. Veronica works in an aqua park. She turns on their shared laptop to write down some tasks. But, unfortunately, her new coworker Frank had changed the password. Can you help Veronica figure out the new code without asking Frank? Look at this note next to the laptop. It's a hint. It says goldfish, elephant, shark, dolphin, and jellyfish. One word is different from all the others. The correct password is elephant. This is the only creature that doesn't live underwater. Veronica gets a message from Frank. He got lost in the territory of the aqua park. He sends Veronica his current location and then his phone turns off. Veronica's watch gives her 3 routes leading to Frank, but her gadget doesn't work properly. Only one of these routes will actually take her to Frank. Can you help her find the correct way? Route B seems pretty twisted, but it's the only way. Veronica finds Frank in a storage room with swim rings and surfboards. There's something really odd about this place. Can you spot what exactly? There's a shark hiding among the surfboards. The chair lacks one leg. There's a starry night behind the right window and a sunny day behind the left window. Veronica wants to challenge Frank's intellect, so she asks him to decide which one of these 2 triangles is smaller. Can you help him? In fact, both triangles have identical sizes, but different colors create visual confusion. What about these 2 swim rings? Can you tell which shade is lighter? This one. And what can you say about these 2 flamingo rings? In fact, they're absolutely identical. Veronica goes to the central pool to check if everything's okay. Can you help her spot 3 weird things? There's a fried chicken swimming in the pool along with people. The pool lifeguard is turning into a werewolf. Take a closer look at her feet. And this swim ring is torn, but it doesn't deflate. Veronica arrives from work and approaches her apartment building. Suddenly, an old TV plummets on the car of her neighbor, Josh. Seems like someone did it on purpose. They call the police and a detective interrogates 3 people living in the building. Sally says, "I just came home. Why would I destroy Josh's car? He's my boyfriend." Tyler says, "The apartment I live in is not under Josh's car, and besides, my right hand is fractured. How could I pull this off?" And Josh says, "It's a new car. I bought it a week ago. But it's okay. I have insurance, so I'm not worried." The detective figures out who did it right away. What about you? If Tyler's hand is fractured, how is he using the same hand to eat lunch and drink coffee? The fork he was using and the mug are both kept on the right-hand side. Veronica lives alone. She spots something really creepy and yells. Why do you think she reacted this way? Take a look at the window. It's closed, yet the curtains are moving. Veronica goes to the kitchen and finds another mystery. Can you guess what's wrong here? The clock on the wall shows 6 p.m., and the electronic clock on the microwave says it's 9 a.m. Meanwhile, it's nighttime outside the window. She goes back to the bedroom and freaks out again. Someone had written these creepy letters on the wall. Can you figure out their meaning? To solve this riddle, we should replace every letter in this note with the one before it in the alphabet, and we'll get library. The next day, Veronica goes to the local library hoping to learn more about paranormal activity in her house. She spots one ghost among the visitors right away. Can you find it too? It's this lady over here. She's the only one who can't grab a material book. Veronica finds a secret hallway in the library and decides to check it out. and eventually she gets lost. Now, Veronica needs to choose one of these 3 doors to escape. There are thousands of venomous scorpions behind the first door. The second path is all filled with the most dangerous magical potions. They are all fatal for any human when injected. And there's a tank with a family of crocodiles behind the third door. Which way should Veronica choose? The second door is the best choice. Nobody said that she has to inject those potions. Veronica asks Tom again on New Year's Eve. "Promote me or I quit." Tom replies, "I'll only promote you if you can solve my puzzle." Veronica agrees. "Cut this thread in half, but be careful. The ball must not drop and you must not touch it." In a minute, Veronica got promoted because she accomplished Tom's task. How did she cut the thread in half? Veronica tied a knot in the middle first, and then she cut the thread in this manner. Veronica changes a 3-letter password on the office door. Now, she's the only person who knows the new code. She leaves this little clue for her colleagues. Can you figure out the password? The number of flowers shows which letter you should take away from the word flowers, so the new code is owl. Veronica receives a complaint from the Aqua Park guests. Someone covered swim rings with paint, and now everyone who uses them gets stained. Veronica interrogates 4 witnesses among the swimmers. All 4 claim they didn't do it, but Veronica knows for sure who pulled the prank. What about you? It's the third guy. All 4 witnesses are stained with paint, but this guy has dirty hands only, which means that he didn't ride the prank rings, unlike everyone else. The owner of the Aqua Park comes with a surprise visit. He decides to quiz the employees to see how well they know the history of the park. Veronica knows that the employees are not ready and secretly offers them a sly plan. When the owner asks his questions, all the employees raise their hands. Veronica picks up one person who gives the right answer. Finally, the meeting is over and the owner is very impressed. Everyone in the office raised their hand on each question even if they didn't know the answer. But still, the person Veronica picked replied correctly each time. How is that possible? Veronica had instructed her employees to raise their right hand if they knew the answer and raise their left hand if they didn't. All she had to do was to always pick the one with the right hand raised. Veronica downloads a dating app, hoping to meet someone special. Here are several pictures of cute guys, but one of them lives with his wife. Can you tell who? It's the second guy. There are 2 pairs of slippers on the floor behind him, and this pair is obviously too small for his feet. A heavy storm hit the city and all the electricity went out. It's completely blacked out. That's why Veronica gets stuck at work alone late at night. She has collected a suitcase with money to carry it to the bank tomorrow. After visiting the toilet, Veronica returns to the office to check the contents of the suitcase. But everything is stolen. Early in the morning, the police interrogate 3 people who knew about the cash. Frank says,
There was no electricity yesterday, so I went to bed. You can check my house's CCTV records. I spent the entire time sleeping.
Tom says, I have a dog. She was terrified because it was too dark. I was singing songs to keep her distracted. And Nina says,
I lit a candle to read a book and fell asleep in a chair right away. In 4 hours, your call woke me up.
Who is lying? In fact, 2 people are lying here. Frank knew that nothing could have been recorded on the CCTV as there was no electricity. And if Nina really was sleeping, the candle should have burnt out in 4 hours.